Hey guys, it's Jennifer with Roots Redefined. Get your passport ready because today we are taking you through Japan and China at Disney's 2021 Flower and Garden Festival. Japanese gardens are famous the world over for being uniquely beautiful. They are also among the few gardening styles incorporating design elements that have remained constant for centuries. The earliest gardens in Japan prior to the 9th century were influenced by Chinese models inspired by traveling diplomats. The most loved element of a Japanese garden is probably the cherry tree blossoming in spring. In Japan, cherry blossom season is a national festival. Japanese maple trees are another famous and recognizable part of a vibrant Japanese landscape. These trees come in a wide variety of sizes and shapes and are a very beautiful component of a Japanese landscape design. The autumn foliage colors of Japanese maples include burgundy, bright red, deep orange, pink, and yellow-green. Other popular Japanese plants include peonies, azaleas, and the flowering redbud tree. The pond garden is a popular traditional Japanese garden design, using a naturally occurring or man-made pond as its focal point. Most water features seen in Japanese gardens are natural or functional, rather than merely decorative, and the pond in a pond garden may hold fish, as with a koi pond, or have water lilies as a food source for pollinators and amphibians. Small bridges are featured in Japanese garden designs, and they are deeply symbolic structures. These bridges are sometimes painted red, as this color is significant in their culture, symbolizing energy, vitality, and power. Rocks and stone features are very important components. Statues of Buddha or Japanese cultural symbols such as dragons are also added for an authentic touch. Now let's head over to our first garden destination in Japan, the Kokedama Garden. This spot is tucked away towards the back of the pavilion, so make sure you look out for it. Kokedama is a traditional Japanese art form that translates to moss ball, and is sometimes called bare root bonsai. In nature, moss grows slowly into a thick carpet, so Kokedama is a representation of long life. Simple yet elegant, it's made by wrapping a plant's roots with soil, sphagnum sheet moss, and string, rather than planting the ground or in a container. This form of garden art is centuries old and tied into the practice of bonsai. It's an accent to that mode of plant display, where a moss ball is the focal and supporting point for a sculpted tree or plant. Traditional kokedama are displayed on saucers or stone platforms. Contemporary artists wind the moss ball with string to hang from ceilings or porches, often creating a forest web of fanciful plants. In this beautiful Kokedama garden, we have shade-loving plants such as bromeliads, anthuriums, monsteras, orchids, and various ferns, including the bird's nest. Monsteras are one of my favorite low-maintenance foliage plants. They are famous for their natural leaf holes, which has led to the rise of their nickname, the Swiss cheese plant. Kokedama hanging gardens make for the ultimate small space garden. Floating in midair, these plants don't take up surface space or even wall space. Plus, you don't have to shell out money for a pretty container, as each plant is contained in its own moss-covered pod and is suspended from the ceiling using inexpensive twine. When choosing a plant for your hanging string garden, pick one that doesn't require full sun, because moss prefers a shady environment. A plant with a small root system is also best, and regular misting or soaking will keep the limited soil space moist. A few varieties that are good companions for a natural habitat of moss include pothos, philodendron, and spider plants. Now let's make our way to the second garden destination in Japan, the Bonsai Collection. Bonsai is a fascinating art form that combines horticultural techniques and Asian aesthetics in a unique way. Literally translated, bonsai means placed in a container. The art originates in the Chinese Empire and was copied and adapted by the Japanese. The Chinese started creating miniature landscapes over 2,000 years ago. The further the reproduction was in size from the original, the more magically potent it was likely to be. About 700 years ago, the Japanese copied the art form, and from that moment on, a distinctive Japanese style emerged. Instead of entire landscapes, the Japanese started growing individual trees. These trees are what we know as bonsai today. Now, many different species of trees can be used to create bonsai, and there are a wide variety of examples on display at the Flower and Garden Festival. Throughout the Japan Pavilion, you'll see many bonsais, including the ficus, Japanese black pine, bald cypress, and the podocarpus. You may also notice that some of these bonsais don't have any leaves. That is completely normal. Just like any other tree, some bonsais, depending on the type, go through periods of dormancy. They will be lush and full in no time. The bald cypress is one of my favorites here. The bark is reddish-brown, stringy, and fibrous when the tree is young, and grayish-brown and furrowed on old trees. The needle-shaped foliage is light green and soft. The bald cypress can thrive in wet soil and even standing in water. You'll have a difficult time overwatering this guy. It produces cypress knees, woody structures from the root system which appear above the water level. The autumn color of the leaves is really pretty, developing from yellowish to auburn before the foliage falls off along with the smaller twigs. A common misconception about bonsai trees is that they are genetically dwarfed plants, and that's just not the case. Bonsai trees are regular plants that have been propagated like any other, but trained by a bonsai artist using specialized techniques to keep them a miniature size. While these tiny trees may be small, they can live for hundreds of years with decades spent in training. Currently, the oldest known bonsai tree is over 1,000 years old. Due to the constant care and maintenance done to bonsai trees, they typically live 25% longer than a tree of the same species living in nature. Now you can create your own bonsai collection at home. The easiest thing to do is to buy a ready-made bonsai tree from a nursery or online. You can choose from a wide variety of tree species that come in many shapes and sizes. Now keep in mind that the price of a bonsai tree is reflective of its age, tree type, and labor required to keep the tree alive. Older trees that were grown in the wild are rare, and generally are more expensive due to their tapered trunk and mature look. But you can also purchase very inexpensive bonsais if you aren't picky. To give you an idea, I've purchased $40 bonsais from Home Depot, and I've also spent several hundreds on ones I purchased from a local specialty bonsai nursery. Another option is purchasing pre-bonsai nursery stock, or even collecting small trees from your natural surroundings. A less expensive and very slow method is to cultivate your own tree using seeds or cuttings. It will normally take about 3 to 5 years before a young tree can be styled, so you might want to do this as a side project, and buy a ready-made bonsai to enjoy in the meantime. Now we also have the dragon topiary on display in front of the torii gate. The dragon's body is created using sedum, a low-growing succulent. The topiary sits on a bed of ferns. On top of these ferns, we have clumps of palmetto mixed in with dark red fountain grass and an ornamental green grass. Now, most ferns prefer low light conditions or they will burn, but there are a few that will tolerate full sun if given enough moisture. And now let's make our way over to China. A Chinese garden is a place of beauty, serenity, and a spiritual connection with nature that provides busy people with a much-needed break from the noisy, stressful world. Designers prefer more natural-looking perennial flowers over annuals. They are chosen for their form, balance, and texture, rather than showy blooms or bright colors. Every plant is carefully chosen for its beauty and meaning. The 3 major elements of a Chinese garden traditionally include water, stones, and of course, plants. A water feature, such as a pond or stream, is often the focal point. Plants often found in a typical Chinese garden include bamboo, magnolias, and azaleas. Nothing is more beautiful than an azalea shrub in spring bloom. These easy-care shrubs come in so many colors, it's hard to find one that doesn't suit your needs. Azaleas can be grown in nearly any garden, instantly adding interest and color to drab areas. There are approximately 800 species of azalea in the world, most of which come from China. The Scotch pine is a very important plant, representing longevity and the struggle for survival. Because it stays green, it is, along with the bamboo plant and the apricot tree, considered one of the 3 friends of winter. Other features may include shapes that refer to elements in nature, such as a curved walkway. Many Chinese gardens are also enclosed by walls. So at this point, you're probably seeing a lot of similarities between the Chinese and Japanese gardens, and you might even be wondering how they could possibly be different. Japanese gardens were initially influenced by Chinese gardens, and both are peaceful, tranquil places to connect with nature. However, the 2 styles have several differences. Chinese gardens are usually designed around an elaborate decorative building that occupies a relatively large area of the garden. The buildings are placed above or adjacent to a pond or other body of water. While Japanese gardens also contain buildings, the buildings are simple, lack elaborate ornamentation, and are often partially or fully hidden from view. Although rocks are elements in both styles, Chinese gardens often feature stones as a dramatic focal point. Japanese gardens generally use smaller, more naturally appearing rock features. Now let's check out our first garden destination in China, the bamboo garden. Bamboo is used in every traditional Chinese garden for its beauty, the rustling sound of its leaves in the breeze, and the feathery shadows it casts on the walls of the garden. Bamboo is very supple. It bends in the wind without ever breaking. The hollow bamboo stem grows in sections joined by hard, thick joints. Its leaves are narrow, delicate, and pointed. There are more than 1,000 species of bamboo, ranging in height from less than 3 feet to over 100 feet. In Chinese culture, a gift of bamboo is thought to bring luck to those who receive it. As a member of the grass family, bamboo can be found in many patterns, such as striped and a whole lot of colors, such as black, brown, gold, blue, white, gray, orange, purple, red, and even variegated. I think we got them all. In this garden, we have sunburst bamboo, fernleaf bamboo, dwarf Buddha belly, and dwarf blue. The dwarf Buddha belly is my favorite here. A popular species for containers, dwarf Buddha belly is a decorative evergreen bamboo, noted for the swollen or bulging internodes of its canes, resembling the fat belly of the Buddha. The internodes are smooth, glossy, and dark green. It's slow growing, which makes it appealing in a garden. Bamboo grows all over the world, so regardless of what area on the map you call home, there is probably a type of bamboo that will thrive where you live. For landscaping purposes, it's good to know that there are 2 main types of bamboo: running and clumping. Running bamboos are considered invasive because they spawn underground runners, called rhizomes, that extend away from the parent plant by large distances. Clumping bamboos produce a different type of underground rhizome that sprout new stems, or culms, next to the original plant, which then expands slowly each year. Clumping bamboo is most often used in landscape because it doesn't encroach easily into other yards, push up foundations or driveways, or require heavy digging equipment to remove if it grows out of control. Whether your garden is oriental, tropical, modernist, or simply need a fascinating greenery, bamboo might fit the bill. These magnificent, fast-growing species have been around for centuries and serve many wonderful uses in the garden, such as privacy screens, hedges, and feature plants. Bamboo cools down the surrounding air by up to 8 degrees in summer. This acts as a natural air conditioning for your garden and any buildings in proximity. Bamboo mulch can also be used in compost bins and is an excellent weed barrier. Several bamboo varieties reach maximum height at only a few inches tall and are available in many beautiful colors, making them striking ground cover options. Container-grown bamboo is another landscaping option. Just keep in mind that bamboo will usually reach smaller heights in a container than the ratings listed for the species. You can submerge containers in the ground, place on your patio, or even group around your yard perimeter for a hedge effect. Slender weavers and temple bamboo do quite well in containers. And on a side note, if you love the look of bamboo but want something even easier to manage, give tiger grass a shot. It looks very similar to bamboo and is about as low maintenance as they come. The second garden destination we have in China is the Chinese Zodiac Topiary Garden. Here you will find topiaries depicting the 12 animals of the Chinese zodiac. The Chinese animal signs represent a 12-year rotation used for dating the years in a cyclical concept of time rather than the Western linear concept of time. According to Chinese legend, the 12 animals quarreled one day about who would head the cycle of years. The gods decided to hold a contest. Whoever reached the opposite riverbank first would be the first in the cycle of years. The rest of the animals would receive their spots according to how they finished the race. All 12 animals gathered at the riverbank and jumped in. Unknown to the ox, the rat had jumped upon his back. About to reach the shore, the rat jumped off the ox's back and won the race. The pig, who was very slow, ended up last. This is why the rat is the first year of the animal cycle, the ox is second, and the pig is last. Now, what's interesting about these creatures is they are all made from dried vegetables, beans, seeds, and other natural products. No water or upkeep required. Talk about a low-maintenance topiary. And they are just so creative. Which brings up the topic of creating your own non-traditional topiaries at home. These are actually pretty cool, you guys. You can use anything from coffee beans, pine and spruce cones, nutshells, pasta, artificial flowers, cinnamon sticks, or even foam balls. As a stand, you can use a glass cup, coffee mug, or a jar decorated with fabric. And the trunks of the decorative tree can be made of thick wire or fancifully curved branches, sometimes combining the use of different types of materials. There really is no limit to what you can use to create these topiaries, which is what makes it so fun. And we could never forget the panda topiaries. They are so adorable. I love the playful one rolling around on its back. The pandas here are resting on a bed of blue daze flowers. Blue daze makes an excellent ground cover, does well in full sun, and is drought tolerant. They are a member of the morning glory family, characterized by downy leaves and funnel-shaped sky blue or lavender flowers that are up to an inch long. In the background, we also have pine trees, bamboo, ornamental grasses, and even some lilies in the water. Now, if you enjoyed the mini kokedama and bonsai displays over at Japan, you might want to check out the miniature gardens in my Germany flower and garden video. So that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. This is Jennifer with Roots Redefined. I'll see you again real soon.